What up, people? It's your boy Marvlat. Forgot. In the same place, but um not the same cast. Solo. All right. Let's start that over. 3, 2, 1, and what's going on, people? What's really good? It's your boy Marvlat, and this is the Nerds in the Hood. Sorry, folks, had a bit of a flashback. I'm in a familiar territory, as you can see. I'm not in the Moth Cave, the new Moth Cave, not in either one. I decided to take a trip down memory lane into the studio that is uh, rented by my guy, Ralph, aka the Instigator, the studio that I agreed to join forces with my former partners of Nerds in the Hood, H. Son, Ant McGee, and Young Death. Not doing this to be petty, not doing this to start nothing. I'm just doing this because this year marks 4 years of Nerds in the Hood even being a thing. So I just figured, hell, why not? It's cold in here, so you might hear a buzzing sound. That's my heater. I can't front, folks. It might be a little distracted. I moved it as far away from the camera as I could, far away from the microphone as I could. But I ain't trying to sit in here freezing. That's why I got the thermals on. That's why I got everything going. Got the heat going. I'm doing what I can. Anyway, didn't want to dive too much into that whole subject, but just want to say that it has been an up and down 4 years, and I thank my guys for taking the journey with me for most of the 4 years. But in the meantime, like I said, the show must go on. I have another video explaining all of that, so you can look in the archives on the YouTube page for that. But right now, we got to get into some of that good 2025 goodness. You know what I mean? Because last year you saw that the news was announced. It's so crazy we're saying last year because it was 2024 just a few weeks ago, and now it's 2025. But I digress. You saw me break the news on the show about the epic crossover that was coming between Abbott Elementary and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And on paper, it was making sense. So what I'm going to do is I want to talk about the episode and give it a quick review. I know I have never on this program reviewed the whole season of Abbott, not seasons 1, 2, or 3. And I also know that I don't usually review episodes in the middle, but hey, it's 2025. It's always time for a change. So let's talk about it. Let's do that. So basically, this was a crossover episode, part 1 of 2. And the cool thing about it is, unlike a lot of other shows which does this is one crossover episode and then we say goodbye and maybe we'll see them again. This one decided to do it where it's the gang from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia meets up with the school teachers of Abbott Elementary. And then at some point in time in the season that is upcoming for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the teachers of Abbott will meet the gang, most likely at Patty's Pub, most likely somewhere else in Philadelphia. We don't know until we see the episode. So, what's cool about it is that I like this crossover idea because it was very random. Most of the time when we get a lot of crossovers, it's usually ones we can see like ideally happening, like The Simpsons and Family Guy, or the Jetsons meet the Flintstones, or Supernatural. Who did Supernatural crossover? No, Buffy and Angel. But that one doesn't. To me, that one never counts because they were already in their own universes before. So the spinoffs were just like regular episodes to me. But like the Arrowverse, when they did their whole crossovers, and even then that was kind of a technicality. But those type of crossovers are cool because it's like those are the ones that you already know are going to happen. When it's a crossover that you don't see happening, that to me is like such a risk, but the reward when it pays off, boy, does it pay off. So I got to give props to Keaton Brunson. I got to give props to Rob McElroy. I got to give props to everybody on the team there at Abbott Elementary and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia for making this episode happen. Now, to answer a question that you might have had if you saw this episode, and for the record, always with my reviews, spoilers are ahead. So if you didn't see the episode, go see it and come back and we can talk about it right in the comments and we can talk about it. If you don't care, hey, keep watching and enjoy. So, for those of you who are wondering, hey, why wasn't Dennis in the crossover like that? Why wasn't he focused in the crossover like that? What was going on with that? I have looked it up. It turns out Dennis was the guy who plays Dennis, Glenn Howerton, was doing another show on Netflix called Sirens. He was recording that. So he was like basically crossed between two projects, the Abbott crossover and the Sirens show. So what he had to do, unfortunately, was for this crossover, he showed his face, he showed he was there, and then he was like, yo, look, I'm not really a fan of cameras. I know about the whole contract situation, the signing waivers, so I'm out. Deuces. Bounced. And then you saw him like again later in the show, but then when he saw the camera, he bounced again. So he had a couple of like scenarios, but his cameo was a cameo, basically. But we did get to see him to make the crossover official. They made sure that the 5 characters were there. The Reynolds family and Mac and Charlie. So they made sure that they were there, but Dennis just wasn't there as much. Now, I'm sure when it comes time for Abbott to come to Patty's Pub and see the gang, he's going to probably be there. Hopefully so. But anyway, the show is pretty good. Basically, long story short, the gang was involved in some type of criminal activity that involved them having to do community service and volunteer work. And they had to do a certain amount of hours. And Principal Coleman had to sign off on those hours in order for them to not do it anymore. But on the flip side, the teachers at Abbott needed them to do the work because they needed visitors and volunteer workers to help them get through their day-to-day operations as teachers and faculty and staff. So it was more of a win situation for Abbott, but a lose situation for the gang, which made a lot of hilarious moments happen, like Charlie learning to read and Dee fighting, not physically fighting, but going to war with Professor Teagues to try and get I don't know what I said, Professor, whatever, Mr. Eddie, Gregory Eddie, the teacher, to try to win his heart when he had already had Janine's heart anyway. And there was a little beef between Frank and Mr. Johnson in terms of just overall beef. I know there was supposed to be a backstory, but I know that backstory was cut for time, saying that they knew each other back in the day. So they always kind of had like a little beef. And I thought that would have been funny, but you know, time is what it is. But I overall liked the episode. What I liked about the episode is that they pitted everybody in those kind of groups where they should have been. Like you knew Frank was going to be with Mr. Johnson. You knew that Janine was going to be with Dee because both of them, although they're main characters in their own right, they both get picked on a lot. Everybody kind of looks at Janine as like this dorky girl. Everybody looks at Dee as this loser chick. So they always get picked on a lot. Mac and Ava worked out because they were vain people. And then Charlie and Melissa and Barbara, they all worked out because of the fact that they're total opposites. But Barbara doesn't give up on people, and neither does Melissa. Having Melissa identify who these people were was the smartest choice, obviously, because Melissa is all about the Eagles, and she's a tough chick from Philly. So having her be like, yo, y'all have cats from Patty's Pub. I know who y'all are. I thought that was brilliant, even though it should have been a more obvious situation. But it was funny when she was like, yo, y'all got like 1,000 one-star reviews. That made me laugh because I was like, now in the age of the internet, when It's Always Sunny first came out, a lot of those things were just like branching out. You know what I'm saying? Like Yelp and Google reviews and Yahoo reviews, all those reviews were just branching out. So people didn't really have a way to go on the internet and say Patty's Pub sucks. And in 2025, she was like, they have over 1,000 one-star reviews. That's terrible. So I thought that was funny. They had a new teacher, I noticed. I was trying to get her name and I couldn't find it. I was searching all through IMDb and I could not find her name because this teacher just started getting lines, and I'm not mad at it. But I had noticed that over time, she just kept getting more lines, and she seemed to be more of a mainstay in their faculty. And I know the last faculty member that was getting lines was Miss Inez, who was the librarian, who was played by the legendary Cree Summer. But dang, I hope I find it. If you know who this lady was, it was a light-skinned lady, and she kind of pulled up from time to time, and she even said that Dennis tried to hit on her at one point in time. He tried to holler, but it'll escape me. But if you do know who that was, I don't know, her name began with Miss D or something like that. Anyway, she is I don't think she's a new teacher. Like, they knew who she was. It wasn't like she just got there. But I love the fact that in this school, there are other teachers besides the main core. Because I know they always showed that one guy who was like, his life was just the worst, like he's divorced and all types of stuff. But you don't really see a lot of other teachers. You see them from time to time, like the lunch crew and gym, like stuff like that. So it's cool when they branch other teachers. And for this one, they use that. So that's what I was alluding to, basically. But long story short, I don't want to go too much farther, but I do want to say that this is a crossover that if you haven't seen it yet, it should be seen. Because one, Abbott Elementary is becoming basically one of the best shows on television, especially in an era where a lot of the shows are either on streaming services or they already left. So Abbott Elementary is becoming one of the greatest shows on television. It is also one of the best mockumentaries on television because, we have The Office, we have Parks and Rec. My personal opinion, we have Trailer Park Boys, even though they did fall off in their later years. And we have What We Do in the Shadows. So we have a lot of those shows and then some which I didn't name, and I know I didn't name, but you know what they are, and you might have one yourself. But Abbott Elementary right now is one of the best. Oh, Modern Family, forgot about that. Abbott Elementary is one of the best mockumentaries on television, and it's great because we don't have a lot of mockumentaries with a black lead. Don't have a lot of that. Don't have that. So it's good to see that. But it is one of the best shows on television. But on the flip side, you have this show, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is a legendary television show, which has been around for more than 17 seasons, if I'm right, or it's going on in 17 seasons. And nobody really talks about this show like that. You got to really know the show to really talk about it. FX, for some weird reason, it pushes the show, but people ain't, it has its core audience and everybody else is just not really watching it. If you like, people don't really watch FX like they used to. You know what I'm saying? There was a time where it was like, you watching Louie, you watching Archer, you watching It's Always Sunny, you watching a bunch of different other shows. And then there was like the little underrated ones that came up here and there, like Legion and stuff like that. But you didn't have that. And then it got quiet for a second. And then Atlanta pulled up from 3. And then other shows started pulling up too. So for this show to still be thriving after all of these other shows came and gone, you think about that. When the dust settles, all of these other shows came and gone. Archer, Atlanta, Louie, they all came and gone. They were some of the best shows on the network, and they all came and they all ended. And It's Always Sunny is still going strong. Didn't win awards like Atlanta did. Didn't get the praise that Louis was getting until Louis got canceled. And I mean canceled both ways. It didn't get a lot of the respect that it was deserving to get. And now in a world where FX is more streaming than it is a cable channel, the shows that we talk about on FX are The Bear and Shogun. So we ain't talking about It's Always Sunny like we should. And I felt like for this show to go on one of the biggest television shows on network television and showcase these characters in the way they deserve to be showcased should push them to a bigger stratosphere. Granted, let's be real, it is a show, and I gotta be real, it's a show about these losers. Like, not trying to sound racist or anything, but it's about a show about white people being trash. We've seen this formula before on different types of shows. You know what I mean? But it's a show about white people just being the worst kind of people. But it is funny because they're not going too crazy with it. They're just right in a level where even a person like me can laugh. So I've laughed. I haven't seen every episode, but the episodes I did see were always joyful to me, and they always made me laugh. And you got the legend Danny DeVito, who's been on sitcoms that have blew up before, such as Taxi. And you have this formula that works. And they found a way where these two worlds that shouldn't coexist coexisted, right? Because like I said, you have the Flintstones and the Jetsons. The only reason they couldn't coexist was because of the time periods. The Simpsons and the Griffins meeting coexisted because they just lived in America in today's time, but just two different worlds, you know, in that sense, right? Some people, there's yellow people and there's white people, and that's how they had it. And I mean, the Simpsons being yellow, not trying to be racist, just throwing that out there. So again, to get this kind of world where it's these teachers who are of the higher standards and they're doing their best to be role models to today's youth, you have these group of people who mean nothing to today's youth, could care less about today's youth, and think that everything they're doing is cool and badass. The best pairing, I want to say, was Janine and Dee. Charlie's arc was good and it carried majority of the show, which was needed. But Dee and Janine was cool because at first they were like becoming the best of friends. They were like, oh man. And Janine was seeing it like, man, I'm this quirky person. And this girl Dee just came out of nowhere. And now we're quirky together. We could be really good friends. And all it took was for Mr. Eddie to pull up. And she was like, oh, snap. Oh, this dude is hot. And they just started beefing. And Dee had this delusion. And she pulled the full character that you see on It's Always Sunny. She had this delusion where it's like, no, he's in love with me and we're going to have sex and all this other stuff. And I love him too. And there was another test that they did where they went full Abbott and Eddie was like, yo, I chose you. I don't want her. I want you. So all of those things made for funny moments. Nobody has to carry each other because they all can carry, you know, few burdens are heavy when everyone lifts, and everyone in this case lifted. Shout out to my big brother Jason, who always said that. But few burdens are heavy when everyone lifts, and these characters lifted each other to make a quality episode. And I'm looking forward to watching It's Always Sunny to see the second episode, because theirs was the crossover lies. Because now the people of Abbott who love Abbott, the fans of Abbott, can go watch It's Always Sunny and check out It's Always Sunny and be like, man, this show is funnier than I thought. And the people of It's Always Sunny can watch Abbott and go, man, this show is not bad. So y'all know the usual rating system. What I'm going to do is, I don't know how much room I have here, but at some point, I'm going to be pointing somewhere and it's going to come up. But you know we have it at Nerds in the Hood rating system. It's going to 2025, staying alive. It's valid, which means the show is great. It's all right, which means it's all right. And nah, this ain't it, which means this ain't good. But this was a valid crossover, folks. It worked in so many ways. I loved it. I didn't really think at any point it was going to be bad. I've been anticipating it since they announced it, since people were making rumors about it. And this is a fun crossover that I've been really, really, really excited about for a while. I don't even remember the last crossover I saw that I got this excited about. Probably The Simpsons meeting the Griffins was probably one of those. And The Simpsons meeting Futurama was kind of cool too. Maybe it was, I ain't gonna lie, on the anime tip, the hypest crossover I was hype, it was when Goku met Luffy and Toriko and they fought. And Mr. Satan technically beat them due to ring out. But yeah, Simpsons and Griffins is right up there. Those are my two favorite crossover episodes. So, with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up right here. First, a few shows that I'm going to be doing back in the old studio. You know, rather paying for it, might as well pull up from time to time. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, follow me and the Nerds in the Hood on social media. The link tree is in the description below. That link tree, if you don't know, will allow you to follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, YouTube. And Spotify as well, because I'm going to start bringing stuff back on Spotify soon enough. But in the meantime, in between time, this has been a fun time, and I will catch you next time on another edition of The Nerds in the Hood with your boy Marv Latt. signing off. Peace.